Today is the 23rd of April, 2020. Quarantine day, whatever. And I did my haircut by myself. I changed the hair color without actually having to use hair dye. I have a way of doing things like that sometimes. I've done that for a while. My hairdresser, who usually does my hair, but obviously since quarantine has been an issue, has not been able to. So, whatchamacallit, Lindsay, I miss you. I've always made sure to take care of Lindsay, and I very much have, yeah. I'm glad I did, but at the same time as well, I missed the waxing and the say it's I do appreciate miss it a lot. Anyway, not in any way like not caring, just continuing on with that aspect of other stuff. So she's from San Antonio, and I was there was a point in time in San Antonio, what was it, 2000, what year was it? It was 2012, in San Antonio, when I had gone to an event. And when I went to this event, I was there to volunteer. I was there to help out, and then there were some problems. A lot of problems. It was exotic Easter, and there were some severe issues. First, any event that I had been to, not necessarily Temple of Flesh events, but any events in Dallas and in Austin, big thing was no cell phones, no cameras in certain vicinities. Out in the sign-in area, and that includes when I was in Oregon at the Velvet Rope, and same thing with Club Sapphire. There was cameras in the main area where you check in. Now, when I went to a Temple of Flesh event, I went to several, but when I went to the Temple of Flesh event in 2012, I knew that it was a public event-ish. I knew that there were cameras in the main area, and in my thoughts, that meant, similarly to any other location, no cell phones, nothing was allowed in the back. Like once you went in the back area, that was it. No cell phones. You could have it, like I had to have it for making sure if the babysitter needed to speak with me, if there was an emergency, something like that, no problem. Well, I was supposed to DM. DM means Dungeon Master. And that's to ensure the safety of those who are playing. Knowing whether or not there's going to be edge play, making sure, knowing where the first aid kits are, that sort of stuff. Well, I also helped set up, put the equipment where it needed to be, move the furniture from one place to another. One of the other things was putting the tarp in the smoking section area, so on and so forth. Well, as the event actually began, there were already some issues that had to do with Celtic Cowboy, also known as John Virreal. In real life, I met him in the pagan community. He didn't understand that I wasn't interested in him. I had to clarify that multiple times. He didn't understand that even the night of being at my apartment. I told him he could spend a night on the couch. That did not mean that I wanted to be with him. That did not mean I wanted to have anything to do with him in a relationship sort of way. I'm very clear when it comes to stuff like that. I wasn't dating anyone. I acknowledge that at that time I wasn't. But it doesn't mean that just because I wasn't dating somebody that I was actually interested in that particular individual, or realistically certain individuals that I knew at the time. It just, I am the way I am. And so there was a disagreement. He had to have that clarification. And before the event, I had contacted Krista and let her know. I was like, hey, you know, I had told him no, and I don't know if there's going to be an issue, but I want to clarify this before going into the event, because if there's any problems, I want to avoid them. I don't want to deal with any problems. I was dealing with quite enough at that time. I didn't need any more. And so, you know, if you don't want me to show up, I won't show up. But if you still want me to show up to volunteer, I'll show up to volunteer. Krista said, show up, no problem. Cool, okay. Showed up. Moved stuff, did stuff, etc., etc., etc. Then when the event actually opened, there were people that had arrived at the event. Some were in the dungeon area. And other people who were not a part of the scene started taking pictures. And it being San Antonio, Texas, it's one of those, it's not as well accepted yet. So I went to Steve because I couldn't find Krista. And Steve said, you need to calm down. It's not that big of a deal. It's a public area and all that sort of stuff. Okay. Well, then I saw Krista and she had asked me what I was speaking with Steve about. So I told her, and she said, no cameras are allowed in the dungeon area. No, that's not acceptable. No. So, okay, well, this is what I was literally just told. Like, I'm kind of confused because I don't want to cause any problems. Because I had already told, before speaking with Steve, I already told the people to put the cameras away because of my prior experiences. They threw a fit, that whole thing. I don't care. You're taking pictures of people who are not, you're not with. It's not you. They weren't doing selfies. They were literally videotaping other people and taking pictures of other people. And it's like, no. Did you get their permission? No. Okay, well, stop. It's that simple. It's not necessarily a public area. I mean, it's a public event, yes, but there are still rules and courtesies, etiquettes. And so then there was a back and forth, and then I was essentially told, you're not working in there. Okay. What do you want me to do instead? Like, what do you need? And they were like, well, why don't you do outside security? Oh, I could do that. That is not a problem. I can handle that. That's no problem. Do you need anything else before I go outside? You mean I get to be in the smoking section the entire night? Smoke whenever I want, no problem? Cool. That's cool. I can do that. I'm gonna do that anyway, and I already did that to begin with. But I never did that officially. Just I would hey, security guy, see that they're acting kind of funny. I'm not trying to touch. Just gonna point that out. And if it's not an issue, don't worry. But like 10 times out of 10, whoever I pointed at, it was not 9.5 or 9 times out of 10. Or even 8 times out of 10. It was 10 times out of 10. that at an event, if I wound up going to a security guard and been like, hey, hypothetically speaking, you might want to keep your eyes on that one and who they're with, because there's a little bit of an issue. And then 10 times out of 10, there was an issue. So I was like, okay, well, maybe there's a reason why I need to be out here instead of in the dungeon. That's fine. No big deal. Not in a derogatory way, just no big deal. Okay. I'm quite versatile. Not a problem. So, speaking with the different security guards. And one security guard happened to be a former Marine. Or, well, he is a former Marine now, but was on his way of being out processed at the time. And we talked and stuff like that. And he had said that he had been in Laurel Ridge. And I said, oh, I know that location. He goes, were you there? And I'm like, for my daughter, yes. My daughter had been, she's actually, I think at that time she was actually in Laurel Ridge. And he had told me why he was in Laurel Ridge. So, oh, I have a problem with females like that. Not just females, males as well. I have no personal issue with that. Guys going overseas, doing their job, and then cheating on their spouses while they're, keeping the country safe and, being, like defenders of freedom and the Constitution of the United States of America. I kind of have a really big issue with individuals like that. I cannot stand females or males that are like that. I have a thing. I have a thing. And we talked for a while. And he was just, oh, wow, okay. And I told him about my life. He told me some stuff about his, understandably so. And, he just talked. No big deal, but, not a major issue. Well, I said, you know what, how about this? Why don't we go for a walk? I have a feeling. He goes, you have a feeling? I go, yeah, I get this weird little tingly feeling. And he's like, oh, haha, like a spidey sense. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know what that means. And he's like, oh my God. And I was like, what? And he goes, oh my God, what? Are you okay? Do you need something? You want me to go get you something? Like, are you okay? And he's just, oh my God, what? You don't know what spidey sense is. No. Like, there are spiders. And they have senses, so is that what you mean? I had a subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my brain, so are you talking about the subarachnoid part? Like, I don't understand. And he was just, oh my God, no, let's go for a walk, okay. And I'm like, okay, you cool? He said, I'm cool. Okay. I'm confused. I mean, I'm Susan, Lady Dori Belle, but still confused right now. I just kind of, okay, let's go for a walk. And he just looked at me, and I was wearing, as per usual at that time, a corset, and then whatever heels, and then I think that night I was wearing a tutu. I think I was wearing a tutu that night. And so, we're walking, and we get to the back part of the property, where the parking lot is and stuff, and there was this male and female couple that were walking, and they had walked back and forth several times. And I was like, I don't really like the way that feels. I don't like the way that feels. I don't know why, but I don't like the way that feels. And he looks at me, the guy looks at me and goes, what do you mean? I can't explain it. I don't. I know we're in downtown San Antonio. There have been, whatever, but I don't like the way that feels. Oh. And he was just, okay. So, a few other things, went to go take care of and handle. And, typical security stuff. Just leave it at that. And, just parking lot stuff. No big deal. Just is what it is. And, then there was another point where I was like, oh. I told him I was going to go inside and check on something I had a feeling like Krista needed something, so I was going to go run in. And he was like, okay. So I went in, I found Krista, helped with whatever needed to be helped with at the time, and then, whatchamacallit, I went back outside, probably about half hour, 45 minutes later. And I just looked at the security guards. I'm like, hey, where'd the Marine go? And they were like, who? And whatever his name was. And they were like, oh, we don't know. I'm going to go for a walk. If I don't come back in 5 minutes, I'm going this way. Just, go for a walk looking for me. And they were like, all right, Lady Dori, Belle, that's not normal of you to say that. I have a feeling. And they were just like, all right, 5 minutes, no longer than 10. If you guys get along, no longer than 10. They're like, okay, all right. Because I'm not normally like that when it comes to like a lot of different things. So if it's out of ordinary for me, it's kind of like those guys had been at multiple events, so they okay. She says, okay, we'll see which way you walk, Lady Doorbell, and then if we have to, we'll follow. Okay, cool. Walk around the back, and there's the Marine being yelled at by the male and the female. And from the back, I'm just like, ooh, okay. So I walk off. So like pretend the Marine is here in the video that I'm doing right now. So I walk off on the side because I know better than to walk up directly behind. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I'm like, hey. And he looks and he's like, and I'm like, so, what's going on here? Hey, you okay? And the male and the female start, rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, no prison. Why don't you two stop? And from that moment when I put my hand on the Marine guy's shoulder, he just kind of went from that to, and it's like, okay, cool. Hey, look, red hair, look, pay attention. Red hair, pay attention. Hey, hi, good morning, hi. No. UCMJ. Remember, UCMJ. And he just kind of, and like, okay, cool. You two, and I step in front of the Marine, and I'm like, so you two need to like back off. You need to go. And the male, stepped closer to like, yeah, I don't know who you think you're talking to. He's the nice one. He really is. So much nicer. So why don't you skedaddle? Don't make me. And the female was like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, you don't even know what I can do to you. You have no idea what I can do to you at all. I'm just going to start off with, I could grab you by your ponytail and throw you and just go back and forth like this. Have you ever heard just bam, 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 bam with your ponytail? As your body just goes bam, 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 bam. For fun. So why don't you leave this guy alone and skedaddle. Just go ahead. Go. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. He's the nice one. I'm not. I might sound like I'm being nice. I'm being very calm. Skedaddle. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Turn around and look at the Marine. I'm like, you okay? And he's like, I was good at it. I'm like, yes, I know you were. I know. I'm glad that, And at that point in time, then some of the security guards start walking towards the back and they're like, hey, is everything okay? And I'm like, that couple around the corner, and one of them ran up towards the edge and he was like, yeah, what about them? I'm like, yeah, they're a problem. They are. They are a problem. They were causing problems for this guy. Guy wanted to, the male wanted to be like, I don't have patience. No. And so, go back towards where the entrance was. And later on, I'm like, I smell fire. And everybody that was in the smoking section, they're like, yeah, we're all smoking. I'm like, yeah, no. I smell actual fire. And they were like, maybe there's a barbecue place nearby. Yeah, that doesn't smell like a barbecue. We'll go for a walk. So I go towards the back where the actual smoking section was, with a tarp, multiple tarps that were, so there was the chain link fence, and then there were tarps that were adhered to the smoking section around the chain link fence and on the top. Because of the hotel that was across the way, that was a tower. And I was like, ooh, okay. And I look, and right next to where the smoking section was, and the security guards were completely informed of what happened with the Marine, of course. And so, see the flames and smoke coming out of the dumpster that was not even 5 feet away from the smoking section. Dropped my cigarette, put it out, and ran inside. Found Steve or Krista or both. I think they were both. Hey, come here. They're like, what, Lady Dori, pal? Where'd you? There's a fire out back. And I'm like trying not to like let anybody else in the direct vicinity know. Because, like, I didn't want everybody to freak out. It's like, hey, I'm doing what I can. I know. I'm doing a fire. I don't know. That'd be great. I go outside. Steve runs out, gets has a fire extinguisher, puts the fire out. Cool. Awesome. Did not remember about the couple by that point. Did not remember at all. And so, it was just one of those, yeah, I'm glad that was taken care of. That's cool. Lit up another cigarette. And they were just like, shouldn't you be out of breath? And I was just like, nope, I'm breathing. I'm just going to have another cigarette. What? And they were like, we just watched you run from the back. Run inside. Run back out. And I'm like, what happened? What's the big deal? They're like, you're in a corset. Yeah, I know, I'll put it on myself. I can dress myself. I did by myself. They're like, you can tie your own corsets, Lady Dori. Yes, I can. Is that a problem? And they're like, no, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. You can tie your own corsets by yourself. Yes. Is that a problem? No, not at all. No. That's cool. That's cool. Didn't know that was possible. Your arms can reach around to your back that way? Yes. Yes, I can. Is that a problem? No, not a problem. Nope, not a problem. No, that's cool. That's cool. And the Marine is just looking at me, and I'm like, you cool? You okay? He's just like, you... How'd you not trip? Trip over what? And he goes, like, I watched you walk. When we walked in the parking lot. Yeah. He was like, you had to, like, walk funny. I'm in heels. You know, I was walking. I was going slow. I trip easier when I'm going slow. When I'm moving fast, technically don't have that issue. There are times when I do, just not as bad. goes, "Will you go with me on a walk?" And I'm like, "Okay, let's go for a walk." What's the problem? You just so we walk past the building area, and we walk past where the dumpster was and stuff like that, and he's just, "What are you looking at? Are you okay?" He's like, "I was just looking at the ground." And I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "There's a pothole there. There's a pothole there. Do you know which way you ran?" "I ran that way, and then I ran that way." And then I ran that way, and then I ran inside. And then I ran that way, outside, and then I ran this way, and then I ran that way. "Why?" He's like, "Do you know where you ran?" I'm like, "Somewhere around here." In this vicinity. And he's just looking, he goes, "The parking lot is like this." And I'm just, "Okay. I don't understand. What's the problem?" And then he looks at my feet, and I'm like, "Don't look, I'm wearing shoes. What are you looking at?" And he's like, "You're wearing heels." "Yeah, I can look like a girl and stuff. I mean, I was born one, but you know, I can look like a girl." I can't. He's just, "Oh, you do. And so what's the problem? You're wearing, and that night I was wearing like 6.5-inch stiletto heels. With a platform, like it was a 1/2-inch platform. And so I'm just like, "I don't understand what the problem is." And he's just, did your spidey sense go off?" And I was like, "Oh, I smelled. Oh, that's that tingling thing. Yeah, no, I just smelled." He's like, "Oh, okay." And I go, "You can make a joke, you know, I was born in the year of the dog, my sense of smell, right?" And he was just, "Oh my God, what?" What? "You know, your hair is almost as red as the background of the core symbol. Did you ever notice that?" "Did you realize that I dyed my hair that color? I did that one for today." And he was, "Huh? Oh, I pick what red I want my hair to be, and then I dye it that color. That's kind of funny. I didn't know that you could pick up on that." And he was just, "You did what?" "Yeah, I mixed my own hair color." "Oh, you don't get that done?" No, I do it myself." "Oh, and you do what yourself?" "I dye my hair myself. I mix the color. After I pick out what red I want my hair to be. And, you know, usually most people don't pick up on that. You're like the first person who ever picked up on that." He was like, "And you picked the background for the rank or no?" I'm like, yeah. I do that every now and then. There are a few times that I'll actually do that. I've done that before. Nobody's ever picked up on that. But, you know, then the majority of times, there's this Christina Aguilera perfume. And there are these different red dots on the box of her perfume. And so I'll pick a different shade and stuff like that. But yeah, there have been plenty of times where I'll be like, and he goes, "So do you have a bunch of Marine Corps stuff in your house? Is that what that is?" "No, I just know what the symbol looks like. And so I mix it to the color because I know what the color looks like." And he was just, "Oh, that's all you do?" "Yeah." I mean, you can't dye your hair right now, but you know. What? What's the big deal? "Oh, okay. And so then he was like, "So out of curiosity," and I was like, "Okay, what?" He goes, "When I get out of the Corps," like, "Uh-huh." He goes, "What do you think would be a good job for me to do?" "You should look at something where you are able to drive a lot." something that you can drive a lot. And he was like, what do you mean drive a lot? Well, there are plenty of truck driving stuff, and something where you are able to like be out but still have your own little bubble. Yeah, actually, truck driving would actually probably be really good for you. It'll give you enough time to collect your thoughts and stuff like that, and then, when you have your time off, if you're feeling like, going out and speaking with people, then you can, and if not, you can go wherever your place is, and you don't have to worry about that. And he was just, oh, is it? Oh, okay. So I didn't really think of, well, yeah, I mean, it's, you got the strength, you're a former Marine, or you'll be a former Marine soon, but once a Marine, always a Marine, so, you're going to have your strength. And you'll be able to move the pallets around and stuff like that. And, nobody's going to want to mess with you, so you got that. And he was just, oh, okay. I didn't really think about that. Yeah. And then, have you ever driven a deuce and a half overseas? He goes, oh, yeah, actually I have. Oh, okay, well, you'll be able to pass the test just fine. Won't be a problem. And he's like, really? Oh, yeah. If they have, like, races, yeah, you should get into that. Yeah, you should, because you'll have the experience of that sort of stuff from when you were overseas. Yeah, and he's just, you think they have races? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they do. I think so, but that'd be kind of cool. But you don't want to tip over. Duh. That'd be bad. But yeah, so that was that event, and then I had told, and this had happened a few times, where a female that Steve had dated, this happened multiple times, had gotten access with the little sticky things and the chippy things and stuff like that to Steve's computer. And I would tell Steve and Krista about it. And at that time, I didn't know about the techie aspect of like the hacking or any of that, or stalking and stuff like that. So, but I did. I sent text messages at one point, not knowing about cell phone issues, and sent messages on Fetlife to be like, hey, you might want to figure something out on that. Not realizing other stuff. But yeah, that particular event, and this happened one time before, when they were still at the ballroom. I had gone to an event at the ballroom, and some guy grabbed me. And I instantly grabbed him and lifted him up and put him on the wall. I was like, I did not give you permission to touch me. Don't do that. Okay? And the guy against the wall, he was like, well, I thought you were submissive. And I'm like, I think that I have just clarified I am not. And even, even though there are plenty of submissives that are walking around in this event, just because they're submissive doesn't make them your submissive. So keep your hands to yourself, okay? But I'm not a submissive, let me clarify that, okay? And the guy, he's just like, can you put my feet back on the ground? Are you going to touch me? Because if you are, I have to let you know I didn't give you permission to touch me. So I want you to understand you don't get to do that. And since I saw you grab another female before you did that to me, and yeah, that one is, but she's not your submissive. So don't do that. Keep your hands to yourself and get permission first. Okay? Fantastic. And then, just went walking. The female before me that he had grabbed, she runs up to me. She's like, thank you. And I was like, oh, no big deal. She goes, do you volunteer here? I guess that was technically a volunteer moment, but no, not technically. So Hi, I'm Lady Dora. How are you? And that was the end of that. But then at that event where there was the other stuff that occurred, I was outside in the smoking section, well, in the parking lot area, and speaking with the security guards, and this guy walks up and I turn around. All the security guards instantly went. And I turn around and go, who do you think you just did that to? And all of the security guards at that point go, I think she got that. We're just gonna watch this from here. Ooh, ooh. And so the guy, he's like much taller than me, and when I was in heels too, so much taller. He had broad shoulders, and he's like, I know, Steve, I know, Krista. I do too. I don't care who you know. Don't you ever hit me again. Do you understand me? And he was like, little girl, I'm going to show you how I'm not Lil. Okay? Okay? And he goes, I'm going to go tell Steve and Krista you're being rude. Go right ahead. Go tell Steve and Krista that you smacked me on my ass and I turned around and was ready to hit you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I dare you. He's like, fine, I will. Okay. I'll go with you just to make sure you tell the truth. And so he goes in and he goes, Krista. And she goes, yeah, whatever the guy's name was. He goes, you see that little redhead right there? I'm like, hey, Krista. She's like, hey, Lady Dora. He goes, the guy goes, I hit her on the ass. And I go, mm-hmm. And she goes, did she hit you back? And he goes, no, she started yelling at me. Oh, you're lucky then. Shouldn't be touching people without their permission. You know the rules. It's like, and she goes, and you're really lucky she didn't hit you back. So, you know, don't do that. Like, do you need anything from me right now, Krista? She's like, no, go ahead. Okay, cool. Don't make me hit you. I go back outside. The security guards were right at the door. I'm like, hey, you guys, what's going on? They're just like, we were just seeing if Krista needed any stuff. And I was like, yeah, no, she's good. I was just checking. Okay. That was just one event. So, but hey, you know, if you were at that event and you smelled fire, well, you did. But, you know. It was put out. It was that. So, you guys have a good one.